Right, so welcome to another episode of the Anxious Lad podcast. And I normally start off by saying joining me in the virtual studio. But tonight we're pulling out the big guns and we're in an actual studio.
An actual studio,
An
yeah.
actual
I wasn't
studio.
allowed to sit at home, obviously, for some reason, whatever, yeah. I can't remember what way the conversation went, but we're here, so that's
We're
good.
here,
It's
we're
better to be here.
We're here. The lads from Podcast Dublin out in the Edge Incubation Centre in Tala, who have kindly set us up and getting this done. So welcome, PJ Gallagher. Thanks a million, buddy.
Not a bother. Yeah, thanks for asking me along. Yeah, sorry, it took us a while to set this up, but we're here. In person, whatever. So we managed to pull it off one way or another.
Absolutely. And so look, you've a busy kind of life at the moment.
It's crazy at the minute. Like between the shows and Jesus, everything that's going on. You know what? There's TV stuff coming out, and then there's babies. I mean, that's all. Babies. Everything's easy apart from babies. They just like suck up all your time. I had twins in August, so they're 8 months now, and he's crawling, she's screaming. It's just like that's your loop of your life now, isn't it? Yeah.
No sleep and
no sleep. No, nobody sleeps. That's what I've realized. Every parent's a liar, a lying bastard. They say when they're on the way, it'll be like first year is hard, or the first 3 months is hard. Then it's the first 6 months, and then when you hit 6 months, they say year. Then I realize you hit 2 years. They say, oh no, the first 2 years are the first 4. Once they're toddlers, once you get past that. And then as soon as you get that, then they say, oh, wait, you're a teenager. So it's just it's all shit.
It's shit. Basically up until they move out and go to uni, it's all shit.
Which will never happen. They'll never have their own houses. They're going to hang around till everyone dies now. So that's the way,
yeah. Always in the spare. I have 3 now. And they're all still at home. One of them's away at uni, but he'll be back soon enough.
Yeah, that's life now. We're like Japan now. They just hang around till the elders die off, and then they repeat the circle.
Well, hopefully they'll take on like what they do over there and actually look after us when we get a bit older. But
yeah,
we'll see.
We're probably a few generations away from that level of welfare, but here's hoping we get there.
We get something out of it anyway. So, but listen again. Look, thanks a million for doing this. I know. Look, we said it before we hit the rolling thing, and you've done this conversation a few times.
I've spoken about this so much. It's unbelievable, you spend... I started doing stand-up in the 90s, and you spend all these years trying to make people laugh, and then all of a sudden you become more known for being depressing than you do for giving people laughs. That's just the way it goes,
so you're not the author, playwright, actor, comedian anymore. You're that depressed lad from Dublin now, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah, you become that guy, so...
man, he was on the late. He's depressed, You do.
Yeah, that fella. Yeah, it's a whole different thing. It's a whole different audience, a whole different routine now, And it kind of has. There's a lot of that. I mean, I'd say half my work now nearly is around this kind of thing. I have a documentary coming out in the 20th of May, actually, on RTE. I only found it out earlier on today, all about depression and about how it is in Ireland and about my own story and all that sort of stuff. So that took months to finish, and I did the book, obviously, which is out in paperback today, actually. So that I was doing that, and then just with other stuff, appearances, stuff like this, you end up doing so much about it. Oh yeah, and it's gas because I never wanted it. I never wanted to talk about this at all. The first time we spoke about it was kind of an exercise in, let's try and make the conversation go away. When I look at how naive I was when I started doing that, that was genuinely what the idea was.
I'll say it once and it'll be
I'll say it once and I'll go, because I went missing off the radio show I do with Jim McCabe,
That's right, yeah.
We're there Radio Nova every morning. I went missing. I just disappeared off the face of the earth for 3 months. And it was so obvious something was after happening. So I was in St. Pat's Mental Hospital the whole time, but nobody knew where I was. And because the way mental illness is with me, nobody wanted to say it. So no one asked me. I never asked anyone else. I just, the only thing I said to Jim was, don't tell fucking anyone, don't tell anyone. That's it. That was the main thing. I'd rather be dead than ashamed, So, and I just disappeared off the face of the earth. And then came back, and after a year, people were, it was so obvious something had happened. So I thought, we'll say it once.
Yeah.
And I thought the best way to do it is say it on the Late Late Show, and then you'll go on the Late Late Show, you'll say it once, and then you'll never have to say it again. When I think of how naive that is, because everyone will know, so no one will care. Then I'll just carry on with my life.
And you're kind of getting ahead of it then yourself by doing it that way. You're getting ahead, telling your story in your words before.
Exactly. And I wanted it to be my words. I wanted it to not be an edited narrative in a newspaper or whatever. I wanted it to be like, here's the story, start to finish. Tuberty was brilliant with me, in fairness. He let me do exactly that.
I don't watch the Late Late that often, but I did watch that one.
Yeah, well, you haven't, so I suppose it's your business, yeah. So, and then the whole my whole world changed. I didn't realize how quick it was going to change. I mean, that night I came off and thought, thank God that's done. It's over now. Like Jenny, I was like, that's over. Don't have to worry about that. I went down to the pub with Kelly, my partner, and the producer, Clint from Nova, who came in with me I think he just came in for a few free glasses of wine or whatever, but who could blame him,
Absolutely. Yeah.
So he came in and we all had a drink there. We all had a laugh, they were really supportive and everything. And then I thought, thank God that's over. I think that went okay. And woke up the next day and it was on
inundated
all the papers. Yeah. It was the front page of all the papers except for the Irish Times. I always say I couldn't get into the Irish Times if I shot someone on O'Connell Street, I wouldn't make it to the And they actually printed a good review of my book. So I have to take that back now. They were nice to me. Eventually, they were nice to me. But it was the front page of all the papers, not just that day, but the Sunday papers covered it then. And then Monday, the columnists were doing it. I was like, this is insane. And genuinely, and I know it sounds like I'm making it up, but like Kelly was there and there was tens of thousands of messages from not just men, but from like everyone's just saying like that story I read, I can totally relate to that story. And that's kind of when I realized, it was only then I realized, I guess I can't stop talking about this now, and even at the time, there was still a reluctance to, because it was selfish, I went on to selfishly just shut it fucking down. That was the point. Like, let's shut this down. People say, oh, it was so brave and you were this, that, and you were. Some people give you that, but that's not the truth. It was a selfish narrative at the start. And but it's turned into something very different now, thankfully,
And for that, were you kind of afraid it was going to get out the wrong way or get out before you got a chance to say
it was.
And it'd snowball into something different, or
what
was the reason behind?
And I don't know. I mean, I knew people were talking, close to me. I knew that somebody was saying to someone like, what's going on there? Or like, is he on drugs, or is he, drinking, or is he like,
in rehab?
What is he? Like, what's going on? Is he just losing his marbles? Like, what's the story? Is it the old trouble with his nerves from back in the 90s? Remember we used to call, that's how we used to address mental illness back then. Trouble with his nerves, or he took to the bed, or all these things that sounded so casual and nice, and really you were like, trying not to kill yourself, So I knew people, so I just wanted to set it straight, here's the actual story.
This is what happened.
And people deserved it. The people who listen to the show every day, that were asking continuously, that were calling Jim a liar because he was saying I was on holidays or I was filming. And he was only saying this because I was asking them to lie for me. I was telling everyone to lie for me. Anyone who did know, I was telling them, please, to lie for me. Don't say it. Like, I didn't see it as telling them to lie, but I was saying, don't say it, don't say it, don't. So it's putting people in really difficult positions, difficult positions, especially Jim on air every day. Getting text messages, getting all this, asking stories. And then I'd say, I'll be back in 2 weeks, and he'd say that on air. And then 2 weeks would come and go, and I was still in the hospital. Right. And then he'd have to say some other bullshit. And then he'd be called a liar again or whatever. I was like, okay, this isn't fair. It's just not fair. So, and at the time I was a year out. So it's not like I came out of the hospital and did this straight away, So I was walking around feeling like fantastic, top of the world, while people were still getting grief and people were still covering my tracks. It just wasn't fair,
No, that's fair enough.
And like, I know that you're not obligated to ever tell anyone your story, but I just think, because I felt so good and I was getting on with my life, I kind of wasn't afraid of it anymore. Didn't mean I still wanted to do it. I just wasn't afraid of it anymore.
And where do you, so let's go back into it then a little bit again. Look, I know you've kind of talked about this, but you've kind of grown up a little bit with mental health around you, haven't you? Like,
mental illness. So,
and that actually, I'll come back to that in a second. I'll touch on that in a minute, because you and I spoke about that a few weeks ago at an event where you brought that distinction of mental health to men. So we'll come back to that in a minute. But like, growing up in Dublin, right, you had obviously, your sister and your mum and your dad and stuff, but your mum and dad used to take people in with mental illness at the same time. So when I say you lived with it, you literally lived with it.
But that's why the book I wrote is called Madhouse. Because you say to people, I grew up in the madhouse, and everyone goes, oh yeah, we all. You're like, no. Literally a madhouse. So it was, our home was part of an experiment called boarding out that the Eastern Health Board were doing at the time.
Right.
So before it was all HSE, it was broken up into different divisions. And the idea at the time was they take people who are previously institutionalized and put them in a domestic, like normal for, in quotes, family home. and they might integrate better into, you know, the community, whatever.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they weren't people who had a bit of anxiety, or, you know, weren't great at coping on their own, or were, you know, getting depressive bouts. There were people with schizophrenia and, you know, people with delusions. And some people now, there were people who probably today wouldn't be institutionalized, but back then they were just left forgotten about, kind of abandoned in institutions.
Yeah,
Then they
yeah.
ended up in our house, and there was 6 of them in our gaff. And proper, like, you know, proper, very sick people. One guy who thought there was an invisible gorilla in the house. Another man who thought there was a dog living in his belly. Like, you know, really sick men. 5 men and 1 woman was the one mix I remember the most. Like, and she was actually seemed like she was the most sane person in the house, including our family. And my man and dad ran the gaff, but my man and dad were alcoholics. So it was chaos. It was utter chaos. Like,
Right.
and me and my sister then, and the dog. And I always say the dog must have been walking around going, I don't know how I ended up here. Like, this is crazy. Like, so that experiment, that went on for the first 14 years of my life. You know, well, not the first 14, sorry, no, it went on for 14 years, but I wasn't born into that experiment.
Yeah.
Like, my folks had a pub, we were living in Marino and all that. And I think it's fair to say at this stage they got high on their own supply.
Right.
And we moved from Marino into this situation. And it was gas, because we moved into Clontarf, you know, and we were only young kids at the time. So coming from Marino, it's like, you kind of, Marino's a funny place. Like, you come out of the house, you go right, all the kids in the flats think you're posh. And you come out of the house and you go left, and all the kids from Clontarf think you're scumbags, you know. So we were like
somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle. You know, I always say growing up in Dublin, I wasn't rich enough or poor enough to own a horse. So it was right there, you know. And then we were in this Clontarf where I felt out of place, you know, as a kid starting out there. And then we'd these 6 people living in the house, and think about standing out, like, you know, like, I was never going to have a real job or life or anything, you know, living in that circus, like. And then I realized when I was a teenager, I was starting to have bouts of mental illness and depression and anxiety myself. And I never said a word about that. And I do mean almost to anyone outside my family, ever, until I ended up in St. Pat's. Because I honestly thought that would never happen. I honestly thought for most of my life I had it under control, which I didn't. I drove people fucking mad through my life.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think, like, growing up, it certainly in Ireland anyway, when you hit teenage years and stuff, right, certainly as blokes as well, right, as lads, we're not supposed to talk about it. You know, you can go in and you can show off your battle scars, your broken leg, your broken bones, you know, cuts, bruises, all that kind of stuff. Look what happened to me on the pitch on Saturday, whatever. But as soon as you open your mouth about, I'm not feeling great, it's almost like no one wants to talk about it. It was pushed under the carpet.
And definitely you are a target as well. I mean, it's fair to say, you know, slagging was. So I became a teenager in 1988. Like, Jesus Christ, can you even imagine? So it's like,
I was 6.
See, I was 13, you know, and then I hit 40, and then whatever. So it was 1992 when I had my first serious bout. Oh no, it was 1994 actually. So I was a bit older actually now that I think of it. When I had my first serious bout. When I think about it now, it was like we were away drinking on the weekend in England, in Yorkshire of all places. Who the fuck goes to Yorkshire for a weekend? And then we came home. I was sitting there and I was in really, I just felt actually okay, but tired, you know, like, you know, back in the days when you thought you could drink and think that nothing could ever harm you, you know. And I was watching
invincible at that age.
Invincible, totally invincible. And I was sitting there watching the Oprah Winfrey show, and a guy in the audience, this is the stupidest story, but it was it changed my entire life, the whole course of my life. A guy in the audience, the Oprah Winfrey show, had a heart attack. And then I remember thinking, I'm having a heart attack too. And it was a panic attack, obviously, but I didn't come out of it for 6 months.
Wow.
So it just hit me, and I couldn't shake. I went downstairs and I said it to me ma, and she gave me a can of Guinness to calm me down. When I think about it now, Jesus Christ, like, of all the things not to do in the middle of a panic attack, I drank a can of Guinness at probably 1 or 2 o'clock in the day, you know. And I didn't leave the house for 6 months. I didn't leave the house. I couldn't bring myself. I lost my job that I was doing at the time in the lighting business. I had all of this. It just fell apart. I couldn't bring myself to leave. Everything was just a weight of anxiety. I couldn't face it. I had these horrible images in my head I couldn't shake out. And because I was having these horrible images and these like crazy stuff, you know, murders and dead bodies, all this horrible stuff, I couldn't shake it. And because I was thinking of all these things, it meant that I was bad or wanted these things, and then I thought that maybe I was a bad person, and then perpetuated this circle of hate thought I couldn't get out of. I didn't realize at the time that if these images disturb you, it's pretty, that's the point. If you're disturbed by it, you don't like it, you don't indulge it, you don't want it.
Yeah.
But you don't get that, you're sick,
And that's it. And each of those images and thoughts, and it's just that constant spiral then. And then you're
Spiral.
worrying about having them, and then you're worrying about having them. That anxiety just keeps going and going.
And then you can't think your way out of these things. It's like someone says, the pink elephant, don't think of a pink elephant. You can't not think of a pink elephant. So you can't tell yourself to not think of something. It's counterproductive. You're actually telling yourself to think of that thing. And that was, and I was really, really, really in a bad way. Went to the GP and told him, I don't know what's happening. I did think it was still something physical. Like I thought it was I thought it was a heart problem, or I just, and it's just so strange, very hard to articulate it. And he told me to put my runners on and go for a walk. And I was kind of lucky that my ma wouldn't take no for an answer. And I ended up going eventually after all these months to see a psychiatrist who put me on sertraline.
Okay.
And within 2 weeks, and I do mean genuinely within 2 weeks, I always say this weird thing, but I started to hear music again. I hear music all day walking around. Like I sing, I don't even, it's a subconscious sort of second level music. I just hear it all the fucking time. And when that goes away, I know this sounds bananas now, but when that goes away, I know I'm not well.
Right.
I could start to hear and enjoy things again. And within 2 weeks, still felt shit. Still didn't really want to be alive very much. But I was starting to come back to myself.
Right.
And I don't know how long it took, but I got better, I really got better. And I never had a bout that bad again. I thought I could control it then. Every time I got sick, I would take meds until I felt better, and I'd stop taking the meds. Worst thing in the world to do. Stupidest fucking thing in the world to do. But that was my rhythm. And that worked for me for nearly 30 years. So it worked for me for nearly 30 years. But it was the worst thing I could have done.
But you're never really dealing with the underlying issues and
I wasn't, and then I had low level depression and anxiety for the entire time that those 30 years were going. I did, everything. I found something to worry about every day. I found some way to torture myself every day. Every day.
And even trying to enjoy things, you give out to yourself for enjoying it, or you shouldn't be having a laugh,
And that was the thing, you can be like really, really sick and not want to exist anymore, but you can be depressed and just coping, and enjoying things. You can still but you're just not well. You can't, because you're still automatically looking for the worst case scenario in everything you do. And some people think that's normal, but it's not. It's not normal,
And where do you think, like when you talk with Derek, as being a teenager and going to the doctor, and you went to see the psychiatrist and that kind of, he put, doctor put you on the meds and everything else as a teen. Like, how old are you at that point? Like,
well, that was 94. So what was I? 94. I was 19.
19.
So
when I look now back, like 94, 95, right? So I'm kind of thinking of therapy back then, right? My own lad died when I was 11. But when I got back into that, like the only type of therapy really was bereavement counseling, that kind of stuff. For kids, right? We didn't really have much in the way of CAMS as we do now. It was a bit of it, but not overly. And again, like talking about mental health wasn't, I thought I was going to talk to this counsellor because my dad died. I didn't know I was going to talk to him because it would have an effect on mental health. Do you know what I mean? It never really entered the conversation. Do you know what I mean? I never really understood it really, like. And now when I with the business and like the life coaching and all that kind of stuff, I'm getting a lot of phone calls now off worried mums about their teenage sons, right? About whether they're self-harming in completely different ways, or whether it's their anxiety or depression or whatever the case is. But there seems to be a huge lift in the last couple of years, certainly with teenagers and mental health.
And chatting and everything. No doubt about it. The next generation are better. There's no doubt about it. They're so much better at talking and opening up and all of that. But the problem is life is so much harder, I think. We could disappear. At least we could disappear. I do really think there was so much of that. At least we could disappear. You'd go home and you were at home and you weren't distracted, and you were, there was no stolen focus. This stolen focus kills me, You actively listen to music, or you actively watched TV. It's gas to think that watching TV might be considered mindful nowadays. But you actively watch TV. You sat down, you watched the show start to finish, watch the ads, new thing. You learn the songs off the ads, all these things, But the phone in the hand, or the screens, and You know, the constant comparing yourself. Like, I could compare myself to B.A. Baracus all day. It's never going to feel, when I was watching the A-team, it was never going to feel like I was making a real life career. I was never going to feel inadequate because I didn't have gold chains and a mohawk. You know, it was never, you know. But having all this in your hands and having that much pressure and having to be on all the time and, you know, I'm so lucky I missed that. And it must be much harder. It must affect me. It must affect teenagers and stuff in ways that we'll never understand. You know? I'm so happy I missed all that. And I'm terrified of that now, because that's the only thing with having babies now. Like, when they're 15 years, what are they going to be looking at? You know, and what help am I? I'm useless. Like, I can't, you know, I genuinely can't. I struggled with Google Maps to get here today. So it's like... So, like, I'm useless. I'm out. So they'll have to look after. They'll have to figure a new way.
They'll have to look after you.
Looking after themselves. Yeah.
Well, where was the, like, when you look at it, right? You said, like, there was 30 odd years of that, say, treadmill of medication, right? Where you're on it, you're off it, you're on it, you're off it.
Crazy stuff. Never
dealing.
Because I didn't like the side effects. That was the main thing. I just didn't like the side effects, and that's why. You know, that's why I did it. You know, I would take it, I'd feel nauseous, and then I'd, you know, after 2 or 3 weeks, you would start to go away, and then you'd have, like, you know, sexual problems and all, because they do that, you know. They just kill your libido. Like, they kill it, you know. That's not fair or true to say for everyone. For some people they do. For me, they did. And then I would have
which as well. Like, they ruined me in that sense.
Well, there you go. It's just like it turns that off. It just turns it off. And then for other people, they put on weight with some medications, or they lose too much weight with medications, or they get to a point where they, you know, they're not depressed or anything, but they just hate taking tablets. You know, there's so many reasons why taking them is unpleasant. But now I know different. Now I know you take it until you work out the one that's right for you with your doctor. You know, to me, it was just like, the doctor says take these, I have to take these. I didn't realize it was we were in we were in a union together. We had to work with each other. I tell him what I don't like about them. He'd listen to it. We'd try something else. We'd work together. We'd find a mix. We'd work out doses. And over time, you get it right. I never realized that. I just thought, well, I'll take these till I feel better, and then him and his tablets can fuck off, and I'll go back to what I want to do. Like, that was the stupid attitude I had. You know, I just didn't understand it. Kind of stupid, it's probably wrong, but that was the attitude. I just didn't understand it. I understand it now. Now I love tablets. I love tablets. Like, don't get me wrong, I love tablets. Like, you know, I get great power out of my tablets now. You know, I lay them out during the week. You know, I'm on that many tablets. If you kick me in the arse, I'd rattle. You know, I take my Valdoxa now. I get them out. You know, I take out my, you know, I always call it Listerine. It's not called Listerine. I can't think of the name of it now. But, you know, I take them out and I mark them out for the week, and that gives me certain control over my week. I know which one of them does what they do for me. I've gotten to a point that I don't notice the side effect profile anymore, because I've worked with the doctor to make that, you know, go away. It took a long time, but I'm there. So now I love tablets. You know, a lot of people say they get over-medicated, but or they go into hospital and they're afraid to go to hospital because they'll go in and they'll be just like filled with things and they'll become a zombie and they'll never. It was totally the opposite for me. I was on all the wrong shit when I went to the hospital, and I was on a lot. Sedatives, sleeping tablets. I was on 3 different types of antidepressant medication. The libido was gone. I was constipated. Like, I had all these problems because of the tablets. And the first thing they did was take me off all that shit. I don't think people realize that. They took me off all that shit, brought in some new medication, and I sat there for 3 months until we got it fucking right.
And this was all in.
And this was all in St. Pat's, you know.
And that's the thing. Like, it's interesting hearing you say that, right? Because for me, and where a lot of people have done the podcast and talking about the medic. Now, I wouldn't be anti-medication. Right? But I didn't have a good experience on them.
See,
right?
That's the thing.
And this is what I hear with a lot of people as well. Like, my doctor started me on. When I went in for 5 minutes talking to him, he's like, right, you're depressed. There's 37 milligrams.
With your GP. But that's the problem. I don't think you get the right feedback from GPs.
And that's the thing.
I think that's
but everyone, and I think that's where we kind of need to get to from an education perspective with, you know, the general public and stuff, and talking about, you know, where do we go to get the help we need? You know what I mean? With my doctor, it was like, right, there's 37, whatever it was, 40 milligrams of venlafaxine was what he gave me. Give me a shout in 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, I was like that. I was like, this is deadly, right? But I didn't realize I left the doctor's surgery, went into the pharmacist, went across the road to the estate agent and picked up the keys to my new house. So the first 2 weeks I'm laughing anyway. I'm on cloud 9, just moved into the new gaff. I've building, I'm painting, I'm
your
decorating.
circumstances had changed
Absolutely.
drastically. Yeah.
So then that all calms down, and a couple of weeks later I'm on to him, he's like, how do you feel? I was like, I'll be honest with you, I don't feel any different. He goes, right, well, let's work out the dosage. And it increased it. How do you feel? No different. In fact, I'm getting worse. It was right. We need to, and he upped it and upped it and upped it and upped it until I was on like nearly 300 milligrams a day of this. I was gone. Like gone. And it was getting to the point like that. The libido was shot. Relationship with the wife was out the window. Barely talking to the kids. I'm screaming, shouting at everybody. I was a zombie when if I wasn't screaming and shouting, I'm sat on the sofa like this, like a zombie. And to the point where I said, I'm done. I'm checking out of here. I'm out. And it was at that point then where I was like, right, maybe it's not the tablets, or maybe it is the tablet. Maybe either way, I need to get some help from somebody else other than the doctor.
And I think this is kind of what it comes down to, though. I think this is the whole point, is because you had like medication for you, probably a smaller part of your recovery. For me, a huge part of my recovery. But I don't think you're going to recover regardless if you don't have a multifaceted approach.
Absolutely.
Because no one thing
is going to
works on its own and in of itself. And that's what I think people need to understand. No one thing. You have to try and fail at stuff and say, okay, I'll try it. That actually won't work for me. And that's okay. That's part of the process of finding out what works. I know that's hard to hear when you're sick, because someone says it could take a month to find something that might help, and we don't even know if that'll help. So it could take 2 months, it could take 3 months. And when you think to yourself, I don't think I can get through the end of the week I don't think I can get through the end of the week. I don't think I can get through lunchtime. And that's how you feel. And I know that, but that's why you have to have a multifaceted approach. That's what was great about the hospital. You go into the hospital, you're on new tablets, you're in new counselling, new psychiatrist, you're doing yoga, you're doing fucking bingo, you're meeting people who have the exact same problems you have. Now that's 6 things you've changed in your life to make yourself better overnight. And if you can break it down and say, I'm just on the tablets and I'm inside the place, you're not. That's 6 things straight away you're doing. You're going for walks. You may never go for walks with groups. You're in group therapy. You're on Zoom calls, you're reading about it, you have nurses checking in on you. Now we're up to 8, 9 things. And that's what you need, a number, as many things as you can try. And as you move forward in your recovery, stuff will fall away, or you might just use tablets so you can get to the stage that you can think a bit clearer and then do therapy. And then you might realize, okay, the therapy is actually what's working for me. But you have to try so many things. And dismissing any of them is wrong. It's wrong. For me, therapy, I've never really managed to make it work. Not really. But what I did realize was I can recreate therapeutic situations in real life for me. But I couldn't do them if I wasn't on the tablets. And I have to, like I'm in men's groups and all that, and that's how I have to do that to force myself into social situations. I have to. I won't just ring lads and go out and talk to lads. I have to have, this is
something
happening.
To do, something
every third Friday. I go to this place with these guys and we do this, and that's how I do it. That's important for me. That's part of staying well for me. As much as the tablets are, as much as the getting out on the bike is, I never thought of it being riding a motorbike as being therapy, but it is therapy because that's what works for me. For other people, it might be reading. For other people, it might be cooking or making healthy food. But when you start to see everything around you as therapeutic or mindfulness, you start to see the world differently. But it takes work to get there.
And it's interesting you said it, like seeing everything around you as mindfulness, right? So to touch on that, and we'll come back to what I said earlier about mentally ill and
I'm talking health. Too much now. You can tell me.
No, not at all. One of the things I've noticed, right, and again, throw your 2 cents into it on this one. So when I talk to companies, right, about doing, let's say, mental health training, right, or suicide prevention training and that kind of stuff, and I always get the pushback, well, what's it entail? Well, I talk about this and I do that, and they're like, oh, that's a bit deep, isn't it? Like, but it has to be, like, do you know what I mean? All right, do you do any mindfulness? No, I don't. Or do you do any well-being? No. And it almost becomes like, well-being and mindfulness is brilliant, right? But like, that's something we should be doing automatically anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, we should be doing, like, as you say, do the things that, take your mind off, or go for your walks, or play the guitar, men's groups, different things, whatever it is.
Daydreaming, right? Whatever it is for you,
But I think we've gotten to a point now where it's almost like mental health and mental illness is getting diluted down into this mindfulness wellness
big
kind
time,
of program,
yeah.
right?
Big time,
Where
yeah. And that conversation I found very toxic. In
Yeah.
fact, that was one of the reasons I didn't talk,
right,
because I heard there was so much of this mental health chat. That's why I'm very careful not to say mental health. I don't think I didn't struggle with my mental health. I was mentally ill, like to the point that I need 24-hour round the clock fucking care.
yeah,
If people, if you have cancer, right, or you have a heart attack, or you get hit by a bus and you're paralyzed, you're not lying in the hospital and someone comes in and goes, "Come here, I hear you're struggling with your physical health." I had a flu there last week myself, so I know what it's like to struggle with my physical health as well. Because that's fucking ludicrous. And your brain's exactly the same. Like if you get to the point where you're so mentally ill, every cell of your body is trying to kill you, and it might win. And any moment in that day, or the next day, or the day after that, and that's all you can think about. Is somebody saying, "Eat lettuce and walk the dog." You want to kill that person. And so when you turn on the radio and there's, a couple of celebrities or whatever, and they're chatting about, it's really important. I struggle with mental health as well. And, I just said to my friends, it was amazing. We had a great chat, and they had their struggles too. I felt so alienated from that conversation. If you're someone suffering from psychosis and you go to Tesco and your dead brother's standing there to check out, you can't relate to that conversation. If you're someone that has a chronic eating disorder, you can't eat and you can't keep eating down. You can't eat anything at all. Or you're a heroin addict. These are all mental illness problems. You can't relate to that conversation.
No.
That's not a conversation. No. If someone says, "I'm mentally ill, I want to fucking die now," or "I can't keep food down," or I'm hearing voices. There's that's mental illness. That's it's not comparable to mental health, going physical health, looking after your gym, like going on eating good food. That's great, and doing all these things for your brain as well, hanging out with your friends and going for walks, and that's great. But that's a management thing. That's not a "I'm in crisis, need to get better" thing. So now I work on my mental health.
So you
because I'm not sick. I'm not sick. I'm not struggling with mental illness. But and I do really believe it has to get to the stage in the workplace, like you were saying. Sorry, I went off the point, but like you were saying, that it has to be as okay in the workplace to say, I have to go home because I am in serious danger of getting fucked up, or
I genuinely don't feel well today.
Or something bad is going to happen, or it has to be as easy to say that as it would be like I have a heart problem and I need to call an ambulance or whatever. It has to be the same.
Has to be, it has to be. And where do you so when you look at all of the years building up to it, right? And I know you kind of hate it, because I listen to you on the radio every morning as well. And my young one, me little one, was listening to you. For years she thought that anytime we turned on "I'm a Celeb" or Britain Got Talent, she used to say, "There's PJ and Jim." So she thought two lads on the telly were always PJ and Jim.
That's gas.
But Jim always takes the mick out of you, right, on the radio, calling you a celebrity. And I know you don't like being called a celebrity.
That's why he does it, because I hate it. That's exactly why he does it.
But is there a part, right, where did that affect you to a degree? Did that play a part in your mental health and getting that where? If you go out on the street, I'm sure anytime you're seen walking around town, someone's asking, "Oh, there's Jake Stevens doing that," or
there's always that.
Is that constant thing? Did that play a part in it as well?
The fame, or hiding it, or
all of it, I guess. You know what I mean?
It definitely played a part when it came to hiding it. Right. I don't think it played a part in me getting ill, but I'll never know. Right. That's the truth. I'll never know the answer to that, but I don't think it did. Right. But it definitely played a part in wanting the silence. I had told the world who I was, and I thought, everyone has a wrong idea of what the world thinks they are, or what they look like. Everyone has that airspace. But I thought, and like that shame is the killer. Shame's the killer. The disease doesn't kill you, your shame kills you. That's the thing. So more people kind of maybe know my face around town than they would other people, and I was conscious of that. And I'd rather just and I know this sounds crazy, but this is the illness talk, and this is what the illness told me was at the time was just, you're better off dead than shamed. You're better off to not get better and just disappear off the face of the earth and let people remember you as the funny fella, then get better, feel good, and tell people what happened. And that was the logic that was in my head. And if anyone's listening to this and that's what they're feeling themselves, Like, if that's what you feel, genuinely, that's not your voice.
No.
That's the fucking illness.
Yeah.
Because depression, and this is the thing I repeat over and over and over again, depression works in one way and one way only. It's the most articulate fucking liar in the world, and it lives in your head and rehearses its routine 24 hours a day. You can't win an argument with it. No. You can't. You can't. So you feel better by agreeing with it. That's what you fucking do. That's the fucking spell. That's the witchcraft of it. You feel better by listening to the liar in your head, and you give into it. And if that's how you feel listening to this, I'm telling you, lads, it's fucking bullshit. I'm telling you, it's bullshit. You don't have to fight it anymore. You don't have to let it go. You have to start telling people that that's how you feel. And you'll see it reflected that that's not normal. It's not normal. You're worth more than that. No matter who you are, you're worth more than that. You can make that stop. Yeah. You really can make that voice stop. But you can't do it yourself. That's the thing. You have to you have to try everything. Like we're saying, you have to try everything. You have to find. And I know it's not easy. And I know I was lucky, and I know I was privileged. I had access to all these things. I had private insurance and stuff, but there is help there, you know.
Yeah.
It's just, it can be a bollocks to get it, and you won't. And if you need help fighting it, you know, find your friends, find support groups, get on the phone, tell everyone, because I guarantee you, when you start talking about it, you can't shut up about it.
Well, that's it. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, like for me, obviously as well. Like, just to add to that, like I don't shut up about it now, and it's funny. Like I've kind of become desensitized to even telling my story now at this point. Do you know what I mean?
Did you get to that stage where you recovered, and then you were so practiced at something you lost your boundary system? I did. A little bit.
Yeah, I telling everyone.
See, everyone. You meet lads you haven't seen for 20 years from school.
Oh, how's it going? How's it going?
I was in the hospital there. I went to be fucking mad for a while. You know yourself, and they're like, oh right, okay, yeah. How are you now? Not a bother. Fucking great.
Yeah. It is, but I think that's the thing. Like that boundary was out the window. Yeah, that boundary went out the window completely. And then I kind of think to myself, right, I need to do something with, because I was working in the corporate world at this stage when it all happened. Do you know what I mean? I had a breakdown during COVID, and then it was, you know, a year later, I got into the car and said, right, that's it, I'm done, I'm out of here. And I checked out, and I went for a drive with full intentions of not coming home. Yeah.
And it might have been the first. I remember feeling that and thinking that's the most bit of relief I'd felt in months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I could see a finish line.
Yeah.
In fact, I would say people around me probably thought I was doing a bit better. Which is scary as well.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things you said, like with doing some of the training again for the business, for the company and stuff. That's one of the things you do. We talk about with suicide ideation. It can kind of, it's trying to spot those, you call it invitations in people, right? So you'll hear at the end of it, you know, you're standing at let's say a funeral of somebody who's died by suicide. So he was in great form the last week, you know. He was a bit depressed like for a while, but the last week he was in great form. That's a signal. That's a sign to actually go up to that fella and say, hang on, yeah, right. I can see that, you know, obviously you're doing great. Now, what's great about you? You have to open up that conversation with it, because, as you say, they've seen the finish line. They can see the finish line. Yeah. The plans have been made, and all of a sudden the stress of it is gone. They've given into that, you know, the voice, lawyer in their head. And
well, that's, you know, that's become your true voice. You know, that's.
So what was it like? Where was that? Like, for me, the turning point was driving the car, right? And as I said, I had full intentions of doing it. It took a good few months later on before I actually opened up and told anybody about it. I'd made about 6 or 7 episodes of the podcast before he even told me, and I hadn't mentioned it on that. And then I finally came around to telling my wife, look, this is what I actually went to do. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. What was the turning point for you? And you obviously had a good friend in Stephanie.
Yeah, well, that was it.
Who helped you.
It was very, very quick for me. Very, very quick for me. I mean, I was telling, I had a small circle around me. I was telling them exactly how bad I was, but asking them not to tell anyone else. This is the same shit again. And even the doctors and I was saying, you have to go to hospital, you should go to hospital. I really think, you know, all this. They never say you have to, you know. To say, you know, like, this is it's time. It's, And still resisting it. No, shame, all that old shit. And the hardest times were the mornings, you know, were the hardest times. So at nights I'd get some relief, and then I'd wake up in the morning. It was like the end of the world, you know. The horrible 2 seconds of hell. Like, you wake up, you get 2 seconds every day where you feel normal, 2 seconons, and then you suddenly remember. And it's back.
I'm living this life, and this is me. And
I woke up this morning. There was no 2 seconds of hell. It was straight into hell, just heaven, just straight into hell. And that was the morning. And it wasn't even a decision. It was just a feeling that I just had a feeling, and I knew I won't see the end of this day.
Right.
I just had that. I just knew.
Yeah.
I'd already in my head known exactly how I was going to do it, what I was going to do. I definitely know it would have worked, and it wouldn't have taken long. It was all in my head. I've never really told anyone what that is, because if someone did it, I'd feel like it was, me that gave me it. But I looked at my phone, and there was a message on it. No time is too early. No time is too late. If you need me, call me. And instead of going out and doing it, I made the call. If that text message wasn't there, it was gone.
Yeah.
And it did come down to that. It came down to a text message, that was the moment. It was that simple. Made the call, and she said, come around to my house, and I came around to her, and we went out, and that was the day everything
changed.
Yeah. Well, I think about it now, it didn't feel like everything changed, but it was the day I made the decisions that ended up putting me where I am today. That was the day I says, okay, like, what have I got to lose now? I can't feel worse than this.
Yeah.
I was rocking forward and backwards, like, you see a bear in a zoo, just what like, and I was saying, I can't take this. And she just kept saying, all your needs are met. I swear, I don't know when it's going to happen, but you will feel better. You will. It was just repetitive, almost like a mantra between the two of us. And I rang the hospital thinking I'll ring the hospital, I'll go in today. That's what you think. I'll go in today. I'll go in today. And you ring them and say, okay, we'll get a bed for you in 2 weeks. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. I can't do fucking 2 more weeks out here. Fucking hell, I was nearly gone this morning,
Bring a tent up and I'll sleep in the garden.
And this is the mad. This is tells you how fucked up it all is. So I was like, right, 2 weeks. So I have to get through 2 more weeks, right? So I go into the work then, and I thought, I'm definitely going to lose my job over this. So I had to accept that as well. And that was terrible, because if I don't have my job, I identified completely with my job.
Sorry, did you think you were going to lose your job because you know you were going to hospital, and
because
they take you back afterwards? Or?
Yeah, they never could take someone back in my job who's, like, my whole job is get up in the morning and tell everyone in Dublin that it's okay to get up in the morning. That's the job. That's the job description right there. Yeah. That's the show description. Yeah. We don't do politics. We don't do current affairs. We do listen.
Get up and have a laugh.
No matter what's going on, have a laugh. Yeah. And now I'm wanting not to be alive anymore. So I'm going to lose that job. Yeah. It was in my head. I went into my boss and I said, that's it. I have to go to hospital. He just went, yeah, well, we got your back. That was it. He didn't even ask me what for. I could have been a toe operation or a fucking head transplant. He didn't even ask. You're all right. I'll always be so grateful to Radio Nova for that, no matter what. Like, and then it was like you go into hospital and I'm actually losing my train of thought here. But what was I talking about? Fuck's sake, I wanted to make a point. I wanted to make a point. But anyway, I don't fucking know. I've lost my train of thought. But I do. But that was you had
2 weeks to
2 weeks, and then I did say to me also 2 weeks, like worst case scenario. 2. Oh, this is the point I was trying to make. I remember now. I'll be back. I'll be out in 2 weeks. But I still thought the job was gone. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
And fuck, am I forgetting again? Why is this going? Fuck, what is wrong with me? I fucking literally just remembered and then I forgot again. And I really want to make the point. Fuck.
You had 2 weeks outside before you went in.
2 weeks outside before I went in, and then fuck, it's gone. I fucking had it. I had it twice and I let it go. What a tick. I really wanted to make the point as well. Fuck, it'll come to me. It'll come to me. So yeah. Now I have it again. Now I have it. I fucking have it.
Keep it.
So then I get a call, right? It was over 2 weeks later. I get a call.
Yeah.
And this is, we have a bed for you. Come into the hospital. And I said, I don't think I'm sick enough. Isn't that fucking mad?
I don't think I'm sick enough.
Yeah, I don't think I'm sick enough. Now, all of this shit had happened.
Yeah.
Collapsing, waking up that day, gonna end my life. All of this shit had happened. Thought to myself, I'd literally entered my job. Thought I was all finished. All of that. I'd ruined everything. There was nothing left. Up to the gills on fucking sedatives, sleeping tablets, and antidepressants. And then when he says you can come in, I thought, I'm probably taking a bed off someone that needs it.
Yeah.
I'm probably taking
somebody
a bed
worse off than me.
Someone worse off than me that'll do better with that bed. That's genuinely how I felt. It's when you think about it, like that's the liar in your head telling you you're not even worth fixing.
Yeah.
Someone else is better off worth fixing.
Yeah. And it's mad, isn't it? Like because you try and have this conversation with people, let's say, who who haven't been through that point where the only thing for me to do now is just finish it, is just end it. Everyone's better off without me at this point.
And you do start thinking
I'm in the way, and they're all going to be better off, and you're trying to rationalize.
You definitely start thinking that. You definitely start, and you start thinking about all the hassle you've caused people. Yeah. And you know, people will tell you you're not hassle. Oh, don't worry, it's this, that, and the other.
But then that lawyer comes back into the
and then there's the lawyer doesn't base things off just pure fantasy. Like, you know, you pick things out, because at that time the people in your life are struggling a bit. You know, like my girlfriend at the time was struggling. Like, you know, she was really struggling with it.
Yeah,
she was ringing helplines herself, I think. And then, you know, my poor old ma was worried sick, and my friends were worried sick. Everyone in my job was worried sick. You know, but they're worried because they want you better.
Yeah.
Whereas you just think, no.
You're being a drain on them. And
no, I'll never get better, so I'll just end it. Which would make everything on those people so much fucking worse. Yeah. So just because you're making life a bit difficult on people, like, you could end your life and end all of their, you know, happiness as well. That's what the lawyer won't let you see. Is that part.
Yeah. And it's interesting. Like, I recorded an episode last night with a charity in the UK called the Ollie Foundation. So Ollie stands for One Life Lost Is Enough, set up by 3 parents who lost kids to suicide, right? And he was saying it as well. It's like, there's, for every one person that dies by suicide, right, in the immediate circle, there's 15 people affected by it on average, right? And that's like close friends and family members, right? But then you go outside of that, I think the number actually for every one person that dies is nearly 120 people are affected by it, because you've got the wider circle of friends, then you've got the work colleagues, then you've got, let's say, if it's police are involved, or ambulance, fire brigade, paramedics involved, then you've got staff in the hospitals and the doctors, and this thing goes out and out and out and out and out. But in your mind at that point in time, you're like, well, this is the only way out. This is how I make all of them not worry anymore. This is how I make their lives easier, because they're, do you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm a strain and a drain on them. And it's like, as you say, it's that lawyer in your head telling you, just fucking do it.
Yeah.
You're a burden on all of them.
It is not a great answer, but it's the best answer. It's the best option you've got.
Yeah. And a lot of the times it's, you know, you don't want to actually die to a degree, but you just want all of this to stop.
Want to stop.
Do you know what I mean?
Just want the finish line.
Yeah.
Just want it to end. End for you, and for people around you, end for you just want it all to end, you know.
So where do you think we go from here, right? So looking at it from an Irish perspective, right? 2 lads growing up in Ireland, and both in their 40s. We didn't grow up with people talking about your mental health. Do you know what I mean?
No. You were either mental or you had health. That was it. That was Ireland. You were mental or you had there was no such thing as mental fucking health. You know, there was none of that. So
so where do we go with the next generation, or even lads of our age? Because we're in that danger zone now, right? Of the age that we are, where we're more likely to die by suicide than anything else.
Yeah.
Right? In that statistic, that danger zone of an age, right, where it's not going to be a heart attack or cancer or anything like that. If something's going to kill us, it's going to be ourselves, literally.
Yeah. It's when you think about how much more likely you are to kill yourself than someone kill you. Yeah, that's when things get shocking, you know. And that's that is where we're at, you know. Yeah. You know, although I do know now I'm in charge, and that's the thing. If I had done all this mental health shit years ago, I never would have got mentally ill. That's the thing. You know, now I know how to. Now I know the next time I get sick, and I will get sick again. It's recurrent depressive disorder. It will happen. It'll never happen like the last time.
Yeah. Well, you've got you've got those tools and stuff now to kind of help you.
Yeah. I have everything in place. I know who to call. I know what to do. I know where to go. I know who to speak to. I know what tablets to take. I have all these parachutes packed in around me. And I guess to try and answer your question is, we need to try and pack those parachutes for the people around us. Right. And I think that's the only, especially with lads our age, I think we have to be more formal about it. Mm-hmm. I think we do. We're not going to just talk like younger lads do. We're just not.
No.
So we do probably need to have, talks in the workplace. We need someone maybe to come in. I've been doing a few of them. I've been doing a lot of them, actually. And it's funny, a couple of the people, the last one I did, the woman running it, she goes, "Oh, we've done a few, but it's like you don't get much reaction, and people don't really talk that much." And I was there, but don't worry about that, because I think there's this idea that you go in and you tell lads to talk to each other, and then nobody does. But that's not even what's supposed to happen. what my experience has been happening is you go in and you do the talk and you ask, is there any questions? And there's no questions. And 2 or 3 days later, 2 or 3 people send you a message and go, come here. How did you, when you got fucking sick that time, what was it you said you did? And that's where it comes from. The dust has to settle. It's not an immediate thing, you know? And lads have to do it shoulder to shoulder and not face to face. I really do believe that as well. So, you know, they sit on it, think about it. Maybe 1 or 2 lads will make an approach to someone later. You might never hear about it. You might never see it, but it does make a difference. So it has to be probably more formal like that. You know, you have to like bring it up uncomfortably. Like you have to sort of confront lads. One of the best things that happened to me when I was getting sick was one of my mates was saying, listen, I know whatever's wrong with you, you're not going to tell me what's wrong with you, but I'm meeting you on Friday. I go, no, you're not. He goes, I'll break into your fucking house then. And I'll burgle your gaff and I'll be there. So that's what's going to happen. They kind of forced themselves into my life when they knew something was coming on. And we probably need to be a bit more casual with it like that. We need to not be afraid to laugh at ourselves. One of the Jim slags me over my mental health all the time, and he does it because he knows he's making it a safe place for me. You know, he's not. He knows like that. Him relating to me in that way as a mate, bringing it up constantly, making light of it, is making a safe and casual space for me to say these things to him, and it works. And I think in our age group, you probably have to do it that way. I think you do a bit, you know.
Absolutely, and I think you're right in that sense. Like we have to be, and this is what, like, again, I don't mean to be ramming the nail home, but I think again from like a business perspective, from corporates, from schools and education sector, all of that kind of stuff. I think we love, as Irish again, we love pushing that conversation under the carpet. Jesus, don't be saying that. That's too much. You're going too far. But we have to do that though, don't we?
I think so. And as well,
we have to have that awkward conversation.
I think so. And slogans on our age group, like it's okay not to be okay and all that. I don't really think that works on our age group. I mean, you need to say it, but I think it probably is better for younger people. For for me, it's okay to not be okay. Is it? I still don't know if I think it is. I was fucking weird. I hated it. You know, like none of it was okay. None of it was okay.
It wasn't great at all. Like,
you know, no one say it's okay to go and break your arm. It's not. You fucking can't do anything. You know, but it's definitely, you know, not a problem to anyone around you, and it's definitely something you can't fix. It's definitely not a big deal. I think that'd be better, you know. It's not as big a deal as you think it is, you know. Is probably more how I'd say it, you know. It's okay. It's fucking not okay. It's fucking awful.
It's horrible.
It's the worst thing that'll ever happen to you. And I do, mate. It's the worst thing that'll ever happen to you. So when someone says it's okay to not be okay, I fucking slap you in the mouth. It's not. I feel shit. I feel shit. Well, you know, I'm going through hell here, you know. And so it's, you know, it should be it's okay to say you're not okay. It's actually, you know, it's okay to be, it's okay.
You can see, like, I get what you're saying. Like the slogan to a degree. I've never heard anyone actually break that slogan down. When you think about it, what are you saying? Like,
it's okay to not be okay, is it? Fuck, it's the first I've heard of it because I was going through hell.
I wonder, did the person who came up with that slogan, has he ever actually not felt okay? Do you know what I mean? I know, you'd be grand. It's fine. It's normal.
Have you ever thought to yourself, I shouldn't say something, you know? But we probably need to be more American about it as well. There's definitely an Irish bravado thing and an Irish small town thing. My missus is American, and I always slag her saying, like, Americans have never had a single thought in their head they didn't share with someone fucking else. And like talking to you is like being in an episode of Dawson's Creek. I'll be there saying sometimes, you know, everything you fucking think has to be broadcast. Like, you know, and I'm acting like that's a bad thing, but that's actually a good thing. You know, that's the way it should be. Like, she comes through the door or she goes out and you get every fucking detail, you know. This guy is throwing my fucking head in, and then this person, and this happens. And, you know, I was in the grocery store and I was stressed out. And when I went in there and put it in, I lost the key. I fell into the car. I'm like, this is shit I'd be going, I'm not bothering anyone with this. Like, this is fucking inane. You know, but she gets it off her chest straight away all the time. And yeah, I think it's probably the
probably a good thing.
You're brought up, show and tell. From the day you're fucking 5 years old and you go to school, you're taught, stand up and tell us who you are. Stand up and tell us what you think. How do you feel about these things? We were seen and not heard, maybe, you know. So yeah, we have a different attitude about it, probably. Like, You know, maybe the slogan should be it's okay to piss and moan. You tell people we shouldn't be pissing and moaning, but it is. It's okay to piss and moan.
Can we go into schools with that slogan? So, I can't imagine standing in the. Do you know what, little fella, Johnny in the corner? It's all right to piss.
Yeah. But this is the thing as well. I've no advice for anyone 30 and below. I've no advice for lads in their 20s. I don't know what their world is like. I'm not the right person to give them advice. Only thing I can say to them is don't let that fester. That's all I got. Don't be me. Don't, work on yourself and do the right things and try and stay healthy. All that old stuff that I felt alienated by when I was actually sick. But for lads my own age, like I'm in a scooter club now, and we've essentially forced the mental illness conversation into that. Almost forced it in to the point that it can be awkward enough. And someone, how are you getting on? Well, I'm grand. No, but fucking seriously, how are you getting on? There's a bit of that happening.
Yeah.
And it's definitely made things better. People have definitely asked questions they'd never asked before. People have said things I think that maybe would have never done it otherwise. And there's a lot of that featured in the documentary coming up actually with those lads. And I think that's probably how we have to do it. We have to just be a little bit
more aggressive with those questions.
Maybe.
Because you find you have to ask that question 3 and 4 times, don't you?
You do, and you can't be too earnest either. You can tell me. You can do. These are aren't you need. These become catchphrases too.
Yeah.
Like it was when people were saying, "Listen, there's something fucking wrong with you. So tell me what's going on. Don't be an asshole. Like I'm not going away. I'm gonna ring you every day. Like, whatever's going on with you, I'm going to keep, here's numbers. Have you rang these fuckers? Have you talked to these people? I know a fella that he went through all this shit. Have you talked to him? I'll ring him for you. This was the stuff that really ended up helping me. Honestly, it was stuff like that. It was kind of that sort of attitude. Not the, if you ever need anything, or I'm only a phone call away. I didn't trust those people at all that were saying that. I probably should have. I don't know if they meant it or not, but it just felt wrong.
Well, it is kind of like a knee-jerk thing to say, though, isn't it? Like, if you need that, and give me a shout.
Because you don't know what to say. It's like going to a funeral. It is a bit. When someone tells you they're mentally ill, you feel like you're at a funeral. Oh, I don't know what to say. That was the best thing Jim did. He goes, I don't know what to do for you, but if I can do it for you, And then when I told Jim I was feeling bad after I got out of the hospital, he goes, here, you're not going mental again, are you? Which I think is one of the funniest questions I've ever been asked. And it was so honest. It was so open. It was so, there was no awkwardness. He was just like, oh, here, you're not going mental again. Oh, Jesus, there was a new approach.
Which usually that's kind of the approach you need as well, for him to create that safe space for you to be allowed.
Yeah, exactly.
To make you feel comfortable that, right, well, if it does go bad again, I can talk to Jim.
So I can go into Jim and say, I think I am going mental again. And those are it's the wrong language, but it's my condition. It's my language. I'll say what I want to say about myself. And that's that's the way I'll do it. It's not right for everyone else. You find your own words, or if you can't find the words at all, then you have to find some words, but there's no right or wrong way of doing it, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm rambling now. I don't know, but you can tell me.
So what was the? We're kind of conscious of time, obviously, as well. We're going to finish up in a minute now. But did you get home to the
babies,
to the twins?
Yeah, talk about testing your mental health. Mother of Jesus, yeah.
Listen, the terrible twins.
I know what I'll do. 2 years out again, or nearly 3 years out after getting out of the hospital. I know what I'll do. I'll never sleep again.
I'll have twins with my American partner who doesn't stop talking.
Yeah. She killed me for saying that.
So what was, I'm going to lead you into this one, right? Because I remember I can't remember what one it was. I seen an interview with you ages ago. I can't remember what show it was on. It was The Late Late or Virgin or something like that. And you talked about the time where you realised when you were in Pat's, I'm actually getting better now. It was the first time you laughed.
Yeah, but this is it. This is the funny thing about being in St. Pat's. You were so reluctant to go in there, so unbelievably reluctant to make that step, and then you're in there and you feel like hell for a little while. Then you kind of feel like you get safe but not happy,
Yeah.
And there was this horrible, weird sort of mid-period where I felt very safe. I couldn't imagine ever being out of there. I liked the routine of getting up, going, getting me dinner, getting me breakfast, getting the call, never having to do anything for myself. Therapy, pills, nurses, walks, bingo, all these things, these little things, and not doing anything else. But I wasn't thinking unconsciously, you know.
Yeah.
There was no spontaneous thought. It was never present, never in the moment, you know. Like I'm talking to you now, I'm not really thinking about what I'm going to say. We're just having a chat.
Yeah.
Well, I'd lost all that, which meant I'd lost my sense of humor. I'd no spontaneity, no ability to laugh or find things funny. Nothing felt real. I just felt outside, you know. And that was weird. It was so worrisome. It was just this horrible place to be. And then one night on the ward, it was just about midnight, and one of the nurses says to me, "Do you know what noise a donkey makes in Turkey?" I was like, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, do you know what noise a donkey makes in Turkey?" She goes, "My fella, he's from Turkey, you know, and he told me donkeys go ha he." And I says, "No, they don't. They go he ha." I was like, "What sort of a story is this?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I says, "No, they go hee haw. That's what donkeys say." So we pulled in on the road in Turkey. We seen a donkey in the field. She says, "We'll come here, we'll see now what he says. We'll wait." And then she goes, "You know what the donkey says?" She goes, "Ha he." And I started pissing myself laughing. Such a stupid fucking story. And I started pissing myself laughing, spontaneously laughed for the first time in maybe 6 months. I actually laughed, but I belly laughed, proper laughed. And it was a moment I'll never forget. It was like, I'm coming back. I'm actually coming back to myself, you know.
Brilliant.
And now I have ha he written on loads of things. You know, it's in my bike helmet and all, and ha he. And I got given a cup in work that has ha he and a big smiling donkey on it. You know, so it became the weirdest catchphrase of all time. Yeah. So it's just these little moments that, you know, you remember, these unexpected little small tiny things that are part of your recovery.
But that was it, like, for you. And I guess, look, as a comedian as well, it's always the fun, the laughter, the joke, and, you know, in your head, I don't like it must be, I nearly said, I was going to say it must be mental inside your head. Clearly it is. But, you know, but like with the characters, with the stuff that you do, with everything there, for you, I guess, to lose that, do you know what I mean? But then for something as ridiculous as what's known as a donkey make, for you to go, actually, do you know what, I think I'm getting the
funniest thing I've heard in 6 months. And I met her. I was walking through the street, walking by Exchequer Street, just by the International Bar, and I met her and her ma, of all people, walking. She goes, "Oh, how's it going?" And I didn't recognize her initially, because when I was in, it was during COVID, so the nurses wore masks all the time. And it just dropped on. I was like, "Oh my God, you know, geez, how's it going?" You know, and I told her again, "You've no idea, like, you saved my life. You and your donkey story, you literally saved my, like." And she was my favorite nurse anyway. You know, you always have favorites no matter where you are, you know. And she was my favorite nurse anyway. And I remember saying, like, you've no idea the difference you made. Like, that tiny thing just made such a difference in the middle of the night on a quiet ward, and a stupid fucking story about a stupid fucking donkey.
And all of a sudden,
and how it's such a huge, it's such an important part, and it's such an important day, a moment in my life. Like the two big moments where the moment I woke up and thought I wasn't going to get through the day, and the moment a donkey made me laugh. What you make of that? Like? You know what I mean?
That's deadly. That's brilliant. Yeah, there's a donkey that pulls you back. Like.
Yeah, a Turkish donkey.
A Turkish donkey. Right, so all seriously, right, so how are you doing now?
Very good, very good. Yeah, it's tough. You know, it's tough. It's very busy, and it's really hard with twins in the house. That's what I was thinking, having babies at 49, but here I am, I'm 49 with 2 babies. But it's good. Things are going well. I love my job. I'm getting on great with my social life. There's worries and all of that. The kids are healthy, you know. Kelly, my partner, is amazing. I do her head in. I wreck her head big time, but that's okay. And she, you know, she can wreck my head too, and that's normal. I'm living life. I'm enjoying life. I'm enjoying the small things. You know, really enjoying the small things again.
Deadly.
You know, little things matter so much. You know, all the time. You know, waking up on May Day, looking out in the sun shining and the whole lot, and you just think to yourself, life is good.
Life is good.
Life is good. Sometimes you're a happy person with bad days, and sometimes you're an unhappy person with good days. And for the last 2 years, and hopefully going forward, I'm going to be a very happy person, has the odd bad day, and I can absolutely live with that and love life with that.
Love it. Brilliant. PJ Gallagher, thank you so much for
having
a chat with me. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it's been deadly, and I think that he's going to stay with me for a while.
I'll have to get a tattoo.
Brilliant. Listen, thanks a million, buddy.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, pal.